can begin. Thank you guys for coming to the panel. I really appreciate it. The subject of this panel is drawing monsters for a living. And we've got some amazing talent here.
And me.
I was just about to say, and me. So let's do some quick introductions before we get started. And I guess we'll start with you.
Oh, you would.
I mean, you're right here. Like, you came last, so.
Yes. Mark hoodwinked me into this, but actually, where they are working artists, this is what they do for a living. I actually am a teacher. Well, I was a teacher until a couple of weeks ago. Fired? No, not fired. I retired after 23 years.
But you're also starting up that whole artist colony thing, you know?
Yes, that's something new. But,
Sort of like the Wicker Man or something.
and I do the maker room here. So that's, and I do artwork. It's just, I'm not on this professional level.
You're doing some pretty good stuff. Sorry, okay. Oh, me. Hi, Mark Maddox. I do some covers and stuff, Blu-ray covers and things like that. Little pencil drawings. Crayon. Thank you.
Hi, George Genti, comic book artist. I worked for Marvel, DC. I did Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which had its share of monsters. I do some Star Wars books right now, which have their share of monsters, I guess. So I've been in the business over 25 years or so, and probably touched at least one, if not every title at Marvel or DC at some point.
Yeah, I've never heard of any of those.
Which one?
Marvel, DC, Star Wars. Buffy.
I'm Frederick Cooper. I've been a commercial artist all my life. Well, about 45 years, but in 2018 I retired from that and became a full-fledged monster artist. So I'm glad to be aboard with these guys, and we'll go from there.
Gotcha. Do we need more chairs? I mean, you guys can work. Yeah, you guys can fill out the VIP spots, because I don't know if we have
It has no sign on it.
Exactly, you're fine.
Okay.
So, let me see if we can get more chairs. Because yeah, everybody wants to see you guys. Frederick, you were on a panel that I saw here last year.
Yes.
And in it, you were talking about how as a kid you used to go to the movies and then draw and like write. Did you even draw in the theater as a movie?
I have done that, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's how much you were like.
Yeah.
That's how much
At that
you were
point,
like.
you couldn't see it any other way. I mean, my memory is only so good, you know. But if you bring a sketch pad in and try to get near any sort of like, one of the blue lights or whatever they got going on, you can capture a bit of it. But
Yeah, because it's not like you could just dial stuff up. Back then, you couldn't just dial stuff up in the internet.
No,
and use reference.
I thought I was the only person that ever did that, and I only did it like once or twice.
yeah, me too.
At the end
Once or
of
twice.
Aliens, when she comes out with that giant yellow claw suit,
Yeah.
and there was no pictures of it any place. And I wanted to do a giant illustration of it, and my sister was on one side, and my brother-in-law was on the other side, and as soon as she comes, they show that claw suit earlier in the film, turn on the flashlight, start scanning. Like those little pipes that pump the chemical into it, and then wait, okay, you shut down, and then it gets to the ending when they're fighting, and you finish it. And all these years, I was really surprised as to how, when I finally saw still photographs of it, how close I was to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to do what you have to do.
I usually added a few other things that maybe I thought should have been there.
I remember coming home from the movie Scanners, and the new actor, Michael Ironside, was just so cool in that. And I remember going, there's no pictures, there's no nothing of this guy. So I said, okay, it's the policeman talking, the sketch artist talking to the person that saw the crime being committed. And I literally drew a portrait of him as best as I could as if that was happening. It wasn't too far off, so I did okay.
That's good. That's good.
That would definitely like cause you to use like more creative muscles, I would imagine, because you have to, like you're watching something and drawing it at the same time in the dark.
A courtroom artist.
Little gray cells.
A little bit of blind contour.
Yeah.
But so that gives a sort of a sense of how like sort of really addicted, obsessed you were with drawing as a kid, right? Like, because you wanted to just capture things, right? George, did you feel that way too, like about things?
I did. No, I was an avid collector of Starlog magazine. And
Oh,
any
yes.
photos they
Yes.
had in there. I was always obviously Famous Monsters and Fangoria and all that stuff, but Starlog at that time had the color photos, and it was just really nice and interesting articles and things like that. So yeah, I was religiously collecting that
And
to
Fangoria?
draw.
With the Gorehound.
And then yeah, later on, obviously you had the niche
Yeah.
magazines.
And so, when did you find out that it was possible to do this for a living? Because at the time you guys were just doing it for pleasure, right? I mean, you had no idea, right? You're just drawing it because you had to draw it, right? And you enjoyed drawing it. So when did it sort of click in, like, hey, I can do this for a living? Has it connected? Has it clicked for you yet?
He's got the, I think in a way, he's got the bigger, more out in the universe career. Go ahead.
Well, no, I just, I used to come to, my first con was 1980. I was probably 14 or so, and it was, to show you how old this was, Elizabeth Sladen from Doctor Who, who played Sarah Jane. And Jeremy Bullock were going to be there. And this is to show you how much cons have increased. I had $40 in my pocket. And so I could buy a couple of magazines, and I had to buy food with that as well. And my mom dropped me off and picked me up later, but I was in heaven with that sort of thing. So it was just that. You're walking around and seeing all this stuff, and you realize, hey, you found your people, and there were so many like-minded individuals like you. I mean, I was very quiet. I didn't really talk. And I think at that show I went alone. I subsequently met up with people who I did know eventually, but it was just that, I guess, that state of mind. And I think even to this day I draw comics because I'm still trying to capture that state of mind.
Cool.
I am extremely jealous. I wish I got a chance to even be in the same room as Elizabeth. Because,
Again, this is 1980, this is Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Yeah, it's amazing, amazing. So, what about you, Fred? When did you did it click for you that I could
It
transfer
took
this
a long
into-
time.
Yeah.
I used to do it as a hobby, and I was still doing advertising up until 6 years ago. And I said, my son talked me into it. He said, "If you've always wanted to do this, now's the time to do it." And it's gone pretty well so far. I mean, it pays the bills, I guess. I mean, it makes me happy too. So which is 90% of it. Yeah.
Yeah, Mark, you expressed something similar when we were talking just a little while ago.
Well, I mean, for me, I've been drawing since 1971, and my dad was kind of shocked when he saw me drawing. I was drawing a picture of Superman, just from there was a page of the comic. As a matter of fact, it was the Jimmy Olsen issue with the Jack Kirby sketch with the Neil Adams inks, and I sat there and I drew it on the thing, and he picked that up and he goes, "Oh my God." And my father was incredibly poor as a kid. He lived in the Dust Bowl in Oklahoma, had to move out and get his own apartment when he was 13 and work in the oil fields, and because his mother couldn't take care of him, and he had to, she signed him into the Army Air Corps at the time when he was 17, because you had to get signed in.
My dad had to do the same thing.
Yeah. So it was one of those where he was shocked that one of his kids was showing something outside of the thing of a day laborer or, pencil pushing, work at the state kind of thing. And so he always was like promoting me to, take the high school classes, even though they stunk. And, and then there was a good technical school in Tallahassee that I went to with a very good teacher that taught me hand lettering. I mean, like that exit sign or something even more. I could literally draw lettering as if it was pressed out with a machine, because that's the way they used to do it back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, etc. And then I was also at the same time getting involved in science fiction fandom. Around 75, I went to my first Star Trek convention, and I did my little first fanzines. I still have some of them, like Shatner drawing a ballpoint pen on the front cover with him from the Mirror Mirror episode where he's standing like this, and crap like that. But I loved it, and I loved the community. I became a professional commercial artist. I did that for years, and then when the 2008 housing bubble burst, I had nothing. Nobody was going to hire me at the rate I was at. I had children, married, was trying to make money, And then it was like I slowly started saying, because I've been sending stuff out to fanzines and stuff, I was like, I knew it was, got a divorce, wife's done. Meet an old girlfriend that I had a crush on in high school, and I said, I'm gonna go down to the state and get a job. And she goes, no, you're gonna do this. This is what you're gonna do. And she had stuff laid out. And she goes, this is what you're gonna do. This is what you're good at. And so it's been a climb ever since roughly 2010. And so now it's a day job, 7 days a week. I make money, pay the bills and everything. And people told me before, you're never going to make money at this. As a matter of fact, the first Monsterama I was at, my ex-wife showed up at the convention. People were standing, well, she was dropping off the kids, and there was people standing in line with Prince to get autographed. And she looked at me and she goes, you did it. I told you you couldn't do it, and I was wrong. You did it. And I said, yeah. I just sat there and said, yeah. I mean, it was something that I just kept gravitating towards. And it was like, you can't be just a monster artist. I believe a comic book guy can get a job, but guys that just sit there and draw a monster here and a monster there, I was like, there's no thing for it. Even Basil Gogos would do a famous monsters cover and then go do 10, men's action, war cover things and stuff like that. But that's all I do is fantasy, science fiction, and horror. And so that's where I got to it.
Yeah, because it sounds like a few of you came in this like a little bit later, and I would imagine that it's not, I mean, you did mention certain support from a teacher, but I would imagine when you're young, it's not encouraged.
Well, the old rule is that in the first grade, when the teacher says how many kids are artists, almost every kid in the class raises their hand. And then in the second grade, it drops down by 20%, and the next year it drops down by 50%, and then by the end of that, maybe fifth grade or something, there's 2 or 3 people in there that consider themselves artists. So in a way, we kind of, the society has a way to sort of beat people down and stuff like that. I've known people that said, oh, my kid is never gonna do that crap. I'm gonna go be an auto mechanic.
That's my job. No, I mean, seeing that, I mean it as a joke, and seeing that attitude, seeing that
I thought maybe
far too many times.
my car was having a funny noise. I thought maybe you could take care of it.
I've got another hand with another finger.
But do you find that's an uphill battle as a teacher because even I come across people, young kids, even today, that, they don't know that this is something that they can do.
Yeah, they don't.
Right.
Well, they're still discouraged.
Yes.
Creativity, academia is, and all of you would agree with this too, I think. If you ask anybody, you play basketball? Yeah. Any good? I'm okay. They could suck. They will say, I'm okay, I'm decent. You go, are you smart? I don't know. Why not be proud of it? If you say, are you creative? Are you artistic? And they go, I draw a little bit. They'll say answers like that. It's like, why not own it? When I say, yes, I am.
Yeah.
And I'm probably smarter or more creative than everybody in here. Because if they were an athlete, they'd have to have that attitude. If you want to be an artist, you have to have that attitude. And you have to own it. And that's, my path is different than them. I worked graphic design for a while. I worked as a special effects makeup artist for a while. And all these friends, but like these guys, when I say they're professionals, and I say that with the utmost respect, is I'm not one of those people that could do it like you guys every day. I don't have that level of discipline for it. And maybe not that level of passion for it in that way. I have a passion for teaching, I have a passion for sharing and things like that. But what they do is a different path. So, and I found that out a different way.
You're right. It is difficult because this is a creative medium, and it is something you do because you love it, and you just do it because you feel it. But there is a business aspect to this creativity that a lot of people do become discouraged because they aren't disciplined. You have to say, yes, I love to draw monsters, but then you have to tell yourself, well, I have to actually sit and draw monsters now for the next 8 hours, and then 5 days a week, or however long that schedule is, in order to meet this deadline. that this business has hired me to do. And I think that's where a lot of people fall short, because they don't understand the business part of this business.
You mentioned that, and Mark, you and I have talked about this before. How with you guys is like I asked Mark, and you told me you have to set it up like, this is I go to work, even though you're working at home. I have to go to work. That door gets locked, don't bother me, it's a job for those 6 hours a day. Are you all like that? Are you two like that?
Yeah, I am, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have,
I do a monthly book, so I have
yeah.
to.
The time I normally knock off is about 6, and it's really hard to stop. Once I get going, I just got to finish what I'm doing, no matter if it's 6 or not, but it's hard to pick it up again at that same intensity, once you get going.
Yeah. And like I would tell the students, you have to get to a point where you can turn the switch on at any time.
Yeah.
You can't come in,
That's
okay, I'm here.
difficult.
Yeah, because whatever happened last night, when
I know.
you got to go back after this convention, after all these hours, I stayed up, I drank at the bar,
Oh, yeah.
9 o'clock Monday, turn that switch on, and start working.
Put the same music on I had on Friday evening. Do all these different, various things that are,
There's two things that work for me. One of them is, and the greatest gift I've ever been given is deadlines. Just the fact that you've got to be, hey man, that press is gonna sit there, it ain't gonna be running because of you. Deadlines, that's the first thing. The second thing is, and it's a famous, it's a paraphrasing, but it's behind every great man there's a woman with her foot in his ass. And that is that I got to a point now where, she didn't have to, it's the point where I go downstairs in my jams at about 7 o'clock in the morning, and I work till 5 p.m. every day. Now on Saturdays, Sundays, it's a little less, but I'm grateful for that. But now it's to the point. Has anybody here ever seen the movie Crumb, about Robert Crumb?
Yeah.
Magnificent film, but the one thing I love about it, despite all the insanity of his universe and his family and everything, is that he says, I just have to draw. I have to draw all the time. So if I'm not drawing for somebody else, I will continue to do stuff myself. The artist Bill Stout said this, and this was one of the things that kind of set me free as far as the terror of what if I don't have a job in between jobs, what do you do? And he said, draw something for yourself, throw it on the table, somebody's going to come along by and buy it.
oh yeah.
And when he did that, I never had a free moment after that. And I don't even mean that. I can very rarely get to what I want to do. It was almost like him saying it was Sin Sin Salabim, and now I got some people, but I want to get to that. No, can't do it. The one thing you saw me do, what I finally had some time, was that crab painting for Mysterious Island with the guys fighting. That was me finally going, hey, nobody's bugging me right now, and I did it, and So I'm curious about tell me your beginnings of, like, hey, I can draw or whatever. What happened?
I'm sure it's like a bunch like you guys. As a kid, like you were saying, everybody draws. I don't know any kid who didn't draw when he was younger. And I think as you grow older, yeah, you have other interests. You are into sports, or you discover girls or boys, or however that works. I was just continually doing this, and of course, the mother aspect, she praised me up and down, telling me I would be the next Norman Rockwell.
That's a good one.
As you get older and your consciousness starts to take over, and that I am starts to really present itself, you realize I'm actually pretty good at this. You don't think, yeah, I'm not going to be a Rockwell, but you start to tell yourself, I'm actually pretty good at this, and that's, I think, what leads to, can I actually do this? And submissions, I've done tons of submissions. I had to try to break into comics for five years before I actually broke into comics. So there was all that rejection, all of those submissions. In that time, I was honing the art, yes, but there was a lot of people saying, no, you're not ready. A lot of the same people I ended up working for saying, no, you're not ready, you're not ready. And to their point, I probably wasn't, but it was that drive, that determination, that I do think I'm talented, and hopefully somebody else can see that as well.
Cool.
What about, so working on that, finally getting that big break. I kind of want to hear from each one of you. What was your first paid gig that you were doing something that you loved doing, and you were like, I can't believe this. This is what this is it.
Like in the beginning, or
Yeah, in the
at some
beginning.
point in our career, we finally hit
We'll
this
start with the
dream
beginning.
project?
We'll start with the beginning, and then we'll go to dream projects. But yeah, like right in the beginning when you first was like, your first real gig that you're like, this is what I want to do, and someone's paying me to do it.
I started out with a little company called Caliber Press, not from London Night, believe it or not. It was called Caliber Press. I think they're still publishing more or less these days. This was in the 90s when the image explosion happened.
Oh,
with
yeah.
the Jim Lees and the Rob Layfields and the Mark Silvestris, all those guys. They were putting out things and they were becoming millionaires. And their style was so different from what I was doing, I thought I'd never get published. But thankfully this little company, Caliber Press, which was trying to cash in on the whole superhero craze because they hadn't done superhero books. They were establishing a line of superhero comics, and a guy thought I was good, and he gave me an opportunity. Unfortunately, it lasted maybe a year, so I did 2 books, one actually got published, and then I was back to square one again. And from there, I hit another company, and another, Neil Gaiman's, he had a company at one point, I can't remember which, but I hit so many of these startup companies there. Jim Shooter, I worked for Jim Shooter for a while, and I thought, God, I'd actually made it, and then that company went out of business.
We were at the same starting
Yeah,
company.
we were at the same company some 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
We were at the same company.
Really?
Just starting out, and of course that company went under in about a year.
It sure did.
Yeah, the business is really flighty. Like,
Well, I think it's just people coming into this business for the wrong reasons. I think a lot of them were just capitalizing on what comics were selling. They weren't really like a dark horse comics. They weren't saying, no, we want to be here for the long haul. We want to publish good material so that people can look at this and hopefully look back at this and say, this is something worth buying.
Caliber came out with a lot of like Negative Burn. If you ever find like any back issues of Negative Burn, that anthology, are you in that?
No, not a negative burn.
Okay, because you'll find like almost any early issue will have somebody that went on to do something. Like they had great talent. And they were doing a lot of different things and offering a different view. And that's what I thought the wonderful thing about Caliber was is they were an alternative.
Yeah.
It's weird that when they started doing the superhero things, like, yeah, but you're so good at doing alternative, like, but then you got to make money. You got to.
True, but to be fair, none of their books sold over maybe
Right.
2,000 copies.
Yeah, right.
Imagine 2,000 copies of a book. That's nothing in this day and age.
Yeah.
It's a specialty book.
Are you kidding? Those are numbers I strive for.
But exactly, you haven't published anything, you're like, oh my God.
As a small publisher, I would love to get that number.
I'd already been doing some covers, as if you knew me at the time, and I'm getting a divorce. Okay, so I go and I move in with Mike Faber. Remember that?
Yeah.
Move in and they got the Maddox room, so I move in there and paying a little bit of rent and all that kind of stuff. The only time we ever had any problems is when I accidentally drank all of his coffee creamer. He's like, it's the only time I ever saw Mike get mad. He picks up the coffee creamer thing and it's like almost practically, this hippie guy's like, oh, it's almost empty. I was like, that's him raging. So anyway, it's right after like January 5th or something like that. I go upstairs, I'm making probably, if I'm lucky, $200 to $500 a cover. I go upstairs, I'm working in my room, I'm working on all that Doctor Who stuff that I was doing for a while. And those people, they paid like nothing, and they worked you like a dog. So I'm working on this stuff, the phone rings. It's the lawyer. Just wanted to let you know, the divorce is finalized. And I'm sitting there, and I go, thanks. And even though I wanted it, hung up the phone, started tearing up. Phone rings, pick it up. Guy from Canada. I'm like, I didn't know what the hell I was gonna do with my life. He goes, we got some stuff for the education board up here. We want to do a spoof monster movie poster. And we've seen your work and we want you to do it. And we've got other artists doing it as well. What would you think about it? And I'm still here reeling for what I just heard. And I said, I don't know, what are you paying the other artists? And like one of them was the guy from Boston who did the guitar floating in space and all that kind of stuff. So I'm sitting and I go, what are you paying the other artists? And he goes, well, it's average about $5,000. And I went like, oh. Yeah. That sounds good. And with the revisions, they're going to end up being like between $7,000 and $9,000 or whatever. And it was so outrageous. What we did was based on the movie poster, The Brain Eaters, that everybody's posters for this helping kids that were having emotional problems in college, it all got thrown out. Everybody got paid, I got paid, and I'm sure the guy lost his job, or it must have been at least $100,000, $150,000. But it was like right at that moment, and there was moments like that, and I want to tell this one other one. I was working for the t-shirt guy and it was the only time in my life I ever walked off a job. In the middle of getting a divorce, oh my God, what's going to happen with my kids, which, by the way, both of my kids will be here tonight.
And they're talented too.
Yeah, better be, they're going to get spanked. But it's one of those where I'm there and I'm working at this horrible t-shirt shop for $12 an hour. The guy is calling me crap. He hates me. Everybody else is going, oh my God, this guy really can do artwork. And everybody else is happy with me except him. And I'm sitting there, I'm working on a t-shirt for the TV show The Deadliest Catch. And I'm working on it, and the song from Skyfall is playing. It was the new movie at the time. And I'm letting the thing play on a loop, sort of like a psychopath would. And I'm working on this thing. And it must have played for 3 or 4 hours while I was finishing stuff up and get out and go home. Here it is, 6 months ago, or no, 2 months ago. And I'm sitting here and I'm working, doing a painting for $8,000 with a couple of vampires on it. At the middle of the night, busting my hump, and it's for the guy who wrote Skyfall. Oh, wow. John Logan. And I'm sitting here and I'm painting, I thought about it, and I started laughing. I'm sitting at the table and I'm laughing my ass off at the difference between then, and this was mine, and it was Count Yorga, it was Blackula, it was the what's his face from the Night Stalker, Janusz Skorzeny, and Barnabas Collins. And then he goes, yeah, and after that, and he says, I got lots of other work for you. And I said, well, I could like to think the fee's okay. He goes, money's no object. Huh? So it's one of those where you just keep persevering. Like you said, you just keep, hammer and chisel. Keep hitting it.
Did you have a moment where you had your first?
The majority of my career was in commercial art, so
right.
I kind of dumb lucked into my first pretty big gig. I came in as an assistant at a magazine in Myrtle Beach. It was a tourist magazine. And I was just learning the ropes. And the next thing I know, there was this huge fight in the office. And the art director left. Okay, you're the art director now. so I kept that job for a year or so. And then I just kept moving from art director to director in different places. And it kind of snowballed from there. I mean, I got a fairly decent reputation and learned a lot. That was the important thing. So.
Well, I think because I remember your inception, he was one of the first few who actually mastered Photoshop. Because back in the early 90s, everybody understood it, but nobody really knew what Photoshop could do. And Fred was there saying, hey, you can do these effects, you can do these things, you can do those things.
Yeah.
I was amazed because I didn't jump on the computer until probably 2000.
Was like 86 or 87, something.
Yeah, well, just when you got to London Night, we were all, when we were seeing stuff, all impressed. Man, this guy does this on the computer.
And
of course, we're still drawing with our hands. We don't really, you can do this with a computer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a long process. I mean, everything I learned in advertising, everything in commercial art, I transformed it, used it, every single bit of it into what I'm doing now, which it's a very long process. I mean, that was like 1980 when I first started that. I was what, 18, 19? Mm-hmm. So.
Wow. So, and Clay, with you, was there a moment where you got a dream gig?
Yeah. I wanted to be either an artist or work in the movie industry. And I got a chance. I was doing effects work for this. It was a TV show. It was an anthology, and I'm a huge fan of anthology horror shows. And I always thought that would be a dream job. That's perfect for someone with ADD. You're just continually doing something new. I thought, I could do that. And I was just hired to come in and do a couple of effects. So I was in the trailer one day, and the head of all the makeup for the whole series was in there, but she was pregnant, and she'd gotten a report from her doctor. And the producer came in and said, they said she can't be on her feet this many hours a day. Because it was 15 hours a day, so 6 days a week. And they just turned to me and said, "Can you do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can do it." I'd never done beauty makeup.
That is true. Anybody who wants to do
point.
this, there will come an opportunity, and it's your job to recognize that opportunity.
And I've had that
Because so
twice.
often
One was
I hear
teaching
that.
and one was that. And,
Yeah.
But then came the real work because I couldn't do it. You know, it's like every actor that they go, "Hey, can you ride a horse?" "Oh yeah, I can ride a horse." And then they get the job and then, "I gotta find out how to ride a horse." And it was like that. And I just ended up at Macy's. I think they thought I was a drag queen. I mean, can you imagine me? Okay, talk to me about mascara. And that was it. And so.
It's the old thing.
But then the other thing is, I found out what I said about the discipline is I couldn't do it. You know, when you're doing makeup like that, sometimes you're doing the same makeup over and over and over and over. 3 days was about tops for me. I can't keep that level of quality, I don't think. You know, where you're doing it again, and it was too repetitive, and my brain doesn't work that way. That's how I knew, you know, I like doing this as a hobby, and this is not a career. So I went back and finished my teaching degree.
It was sort of what you were talking about, the old thing of jump off a cliff and you grow wings on the way down.
Yeah.
I had done some illustration in Photoshop and stuff, but there was a guy with one of these new pulp books, Airship 27, I think it was, and the guy, I told him, I said, "Anytime you're ready for me to do a cover, I'm ready." And so he calls me one day and he goes, "You've got 10 days, the guy who's supposed to do this cover, who's supposed to do the press, says he can't do it. Can you get me a cover in 10 days? I never used Photoshop to do a full-blown illustration." And I went, "Yeah." I did. And he goes, "2 deep sea divers, Mark V diving suits, and they're fighting with knives underwater with a treasure chest, and here comes a big old great white shark behind them." And I did that one, and then I did a Sherlock Holmes after that one, and I got an award for it. I got the Pulp Factory award for it, and they handed it to me later to talk, and they goes, "Man, it's just, we haven't seen hardly any of your artwork." I said, "Those are the first 2 pieces I've done." And I was like, but you just jump in, you know. Now, do you do most of your work still traditional?
I said I got into this early enough that it was still traditional, so I know things are all digital these days. I'm so close to retirement as it is. I don't see where I should.
Well, I mean, in a way, though, there's still that, I don't know what to make of AI and all that stuff. I'm not that afraid of it, but it's one of those where handmade art is just going to be more valuable.
And to this day, most comic book artists are doing it digitally. And again, the business aspect, when it's good, sure. I get paid for what I do. But then, right, if you have this original piece of artwork, it usually reverts back to you after it's been printed. So you're free to do what you want with it. So in theory, I get paid twice for something that I've done because I usually sell the artwork along with that.
But with the digital world, it's one of those too now with everybody's, I mean, there's now people taking somebody's painting that is digitally done, running it through a filter and going, "No, this was AI," and all that. And they said, "Well, Mark, what happens on the day they stop using you for all these covers and stuff like that?" And I said, "When I do that, I'm gonna make myself a big ass margarita and go down to Key West and paint sunsets. I don't care." But I've got my kids who are working in the digital realm and in film and all that kind of stuff. And I said, "Look, just hedge your bets by learning how to do stuff traditionally as well." As a matter of fact, my son's coming, staying with me in about 2 weeks, staying with me for about 2 more weeks. And all we're going to do is go over inking, and I'm going to be showing him Franklin Booth, and I'm going to be showing him James Montgomery Flagg, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to want him to really know how to do great pen and ink. My daughter's already pretty good at it, but I want them to do all the tricks. He's already very, very good with watercolor and all that kind of stuff. But I think people are confused right now by what's going on in the digital world and with computers and stuff. And I'm like, there's always going to be something. No artwork ever gets destroyed. There is no form that ever since the cavemen first started doing their work, sculpture, oils, watercolor, photography, even darkroom photography, nothing, everything is still with us. So when people freak out about AI, I'm going, no, it's just going to be another thing. So I put everybody's fears at rest.
I don't know, it's scaring the hell out of me.
Until they start ripping him off.
They probably already are. I'll rip them back off, you know. I sit there, and go, oh, that looks pretty good, you know. I mean, isn't that technically what we all do? Though? You saw Frazetta and lost your mind. You saw your Frazetta and lost Obama, whoever the heck else, Jack Kirby, and we all kind of gobble up anyway, and then eat it, and then we go, okay, I'm going to draw something, and there's little
You can't help it.
inspirations and all that kind of stuff. So the AI is just doing it a little more robotically, but I'm not afraid of it. The hell with it. I'm going to be fine.
He's like, bring it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, just refuse to fix AI art, and you'll probably be okay.
Yeah, really. I just want to tell everybody all my artwork's AI.
Use AI as a photo board.
The
Yeah.
fact you're not here.
I've been doing AI since the 70s.
So, the good thing is that you guys are getting paid to draw what you love, but occasionally you have to draw something you don't love and get paid. Tell me what that's.
You.
Tell me what that's.
He talked to me today. Damn it, I got it.
No, I wasn't thinking of that specifically, but yes.
No, I mean,
that is the downside.
I've got a great euphemism about that. I tell people when they come to me saying, oh, you want to draw, you like to go, I say, be careful when your passion becomes your profession, because it no longer is your passion anymore. I used to draw because I loved to and I just wanted to relax. I draw every day now. Now when I don't have to draw, I tend to do something else because I've been drawing all day. And while I still love doing the artwork, it no longer is that passion where you're like, oh, I just, sat for the whole day and drew this, scene from Blade Runner that I totally loved. I can think of, hey, let's go out. I don't want to be behind the table anymore. I want to go
Right.
out and go do something. And that will change your perception. I think anything in the arts, if you're a dancer or an actor or a singer, yeah, you sing all day and you're like, well, let's go to the karaoke bar and sing. I don't want to sing. I've been singing all day.
Yeah.
It's the same with art.
It's like who eats at the restaurant they work at, right? Like maybe you don't want to do that because, and yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that when I started getting involved with comics, it took me a long time because even though I loved comics as a medium, I think part of me was afraid that the more I learned about behind the scenes and the business side of it, the more I would not like.
Yeah.
And then that would change my view of comics for the rest of my life.
Sure.
And yeah, sometimes it is a struggle and an uphill battle to work on those books and do all those things that you need to do in order to get that done, right? But how do you power through it? How do you power through it?
It's pretty tough. I mean, I went 3 decades doing mostly things I didn't want to do. So, and I'd go home and still draw monsters and, horror subject, science fiction. But,
So you've had a balance, right? So you
Yeah.
okay, I have to do
Yeah.
this, and that's work, but then I get to go home and,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
yeah, it's,
Yeah, I'm finishing up the Ahsoka series. Marvel Lucasfilm's doing an Ahsoka series that's out now and will be out through the end of the year. Shameless plug.
That's your local comic shop.
It's something where I've been doing so much Star Wars and I love it, and the 10-year-old in me is like, oh my God, had I told myself I would be doing this, I would have freaked out. But it does feel like, okay, now it's more of a process rather than that 10-year-old kid reading that Star Wars magazine of the new Return of the Jedi that's coming out, things like that. It is more of a job, and I have to remind myself, hey, this is something you were wanting to do. You were lobbying to do for most of your career. Man up and respect the process.
If you could talk to 10-year-old you,
You know?
be like, hey, you get to
Put
do
your
this.
line in, old man.
So you do have to remind yourself, I feel sometimes. I love what I do and I appreciate what I do and I love the fact that I can still do what I do. But it does sort of impede upon you that, oh God, I have to do this again. And there are some days you just don't want to work, and I stand behind those are the worst days in the world. When you have to do something and you don't want to do it, it's like pulling
the
nails.
self-imposed deadline is horrific. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah.
My thing was, what I hate is when a publisher is having you make a change to something that was unique, different from something that's everybody's seen 1,000 times before, whether it's a monster, the same expression, the same pose, and you go, no, I've got something different that the fans will go, oh, this is different. and then they say, no, do this, and you're sitting there going, you're killing it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this story, but then if any of you tell, you will have to die.
It is being recorded.
Nah.
Never mind. I love all my employers. There was an issue of a magazine that I did that had a very famous actress on it, and there was a certain way, a demeanor of this woman, very sexy, very attractive, and I had it just right. And they said, no, we want you to change the expression to look more like this, and they sent me this photograph. I said, it looks like she's asking for a tea. Like she's going like this, so I redrew it and everything like that, and things gets published. I'm at a convention, a friend of mine walks up and goes, I can't believe that's yours. I mean, it's got your name on it. This is the first piece I've ever seen you do that really stinks. And I really tried with what they gave me. The actress was unhappy. Her best friend was like, do yourself a favor later, redo it exactly the way you want to and make a print of it. But then my own brother calls me on the phone and he's telling me, man, what happened with that cover? And I'm like, you know, and then I did 2 other covers with this guy over probably about maybe 20 covers total. And there was 2 more where he went in and changed it, and there was some pretty heavy Hollywood hitters who had looked at what I'd done and said, oh my God, this is amazing. And then he made me change it to some belief that he had, and it killed it. That's when I hate it. That's when you're sitting here going, I ain't making prints of this one for the table. You know, and there's some of those, but probably about maybe 3 to 5 of those total.
You don't feel like your work for hire, that's, the client doesn't like it, and that's fine.
But I do exactly as they want, and when I'm done and I hand it to that person, they were happy.
Yeah, I'm the same way, yeah.
But I'm sort of like, I just think there's something here that's lacking. I think there's an oomph or an energy to it that's lacking, and sure enough, it just, you know, I maybe have made a print or 2 of it, and it just sits there year after year. The plastic starts to turn yellow around the edges, cracks and everything like that. But that's when I hate it.
Yeah, because it sounds like, you know, when someone is paying you, they have the final say.
You're their hired gun.
And nobody is more picky than Lucasfilm. They have
Oh man, oh man.
And there is, I don't know who's doing it, you know, it's sort of a very faceless majority over there. But you feel from time to time, do these guys even like art? Is this something even looking at? Because there is a process that it's almost this is the way it's always been done, and this is the way it should be done, and it does tend to kill that creativity.
That has to hurt.
I know someone, an artist that did, I don't know if it's a Disney thing too, because I don't know if, because I remember a few years ago I talked to an artist that did some Muppet work for Muppet like comics and stuff. And I was like, man, you get to draw the Muppets, isn't that awesome? He's like, oh, it's a nightmare.
I've had other friends that draw Star Wars and stuff, and they say the same thing. They get sick of it, you know.
Yeah.
I had one family of a very famous horror actor that up until about a couple of months ago, I was working for something, a Blu-ray. The person will remain nameless, but trust me, you've all heard of this person's family, or person and their family. And it was so micromanaged, it was so lawyered to death, it was so what could you get away with? You did exactly what they told you to do. It's like, well, then you tell me what images I can work from. And you do it, and it still comes back, and there's meetings that they call you up, and the people go, you know what, Mark, we're killing this, we don't care what the family wants, we're not even gonna do the project, here's your check.
Wow.
And just what a waste. What a waste of everybody's time, because they're picking lint out of their navels. They're sitting here so, I think that's the same thing with Star Wars and Disney. It gets down to the point where every little atom of it is so done. It's like art, yeah, you gotta have some control, but to that degree, you're murdering it. You're murdering it. And there's times now that I'll tell people, here's your deposit back, I'm finished, I'm not doing this.
Art by committee is usually just
Murder,
people trying
it's the kiss of death.
they're just trying to justify their individual jobs. They have to have some sort of input that makes a difference.
They want a paycheck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find with a lot of, like, talking to a lot of people who work with licensed properties, you've got people who, like, they're always going to have notes.
Yeah.
Because if they don't have notes, somebody is looking at them and they don't feel like they're doing their job.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're always gonna have this, even if it's just to say like, change it from blue to orange.
You know, I had him change that, you know.
I didn't know how fortunate I was. The first, I guess, the film adaptation or TV adaptation I did was Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I was, again, I had no clue, but I was very fortunate in hindsight that I was working directly with Joss Whedon. And as I later found out, because Buffy was published through 20th Century Fox, everybody was giving me these horror stories, like you were just saying. I'm like, no, I never experienced that. I didn't know that was a thing. And they're like, well, I found out, well, you were working with Joss, and 20th Century Fox was saying, we'll defer to him, so whatever he says can go. So and unbeknownst to me, all I had to do was ask him, and it superseded all of those 10 or 80 guys justified.
Sounds like working with Joss was like going through Atlanta when the traffic's low, and then going over to 20th Century with Star Wars is like when you all of a sudden realize you hit the brakes because you see all those
There's a couple of
sit here. Yeah.
Well, I think when we did that Buffy panel at DragonCon a few years ago, yeah, you and Carl were on that, and we talked about how before you guys, I think, well, while you guys were doing that, there were other artists doing other projects that were in the Buffyverse. I think Ryan Sook was unfortunately one of those that got a lot of criticism because his style was one that the fans were just like, what is this?
Well, the criticism there was style, not art.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Because his was a little more
Joss
like
loved
Mike
it,
and
from what I
Yoda.
understand. Joss was like, that's the guy, I want that style. And yet the fans, there was that fan reaction, they didn't quite understand that. So that's another aspect of what you guys do, where you got not only the people that are paying for it, but then the fans later on with their expectations. You know, it's like when you go to a concert, a lot of fans want to hear the songs exactly how they're played, as if they're playing the CD, right?
Yeah.
Well, kids don't listen to CDs anymore, right? But anyway, they want to hear it exactly the way it is, and if it's different, if the guitar solo is different or something like that, they're like, oh man, they suck. They're off.
Well, yeah, the one constant in that is that it has to look like the actors, or whatever you're doing should favor whatever that feel is, because a lot of those early Star Trek comic books had nothing to do with the TV show. As fans here, and if you ever go look at those
I own
comics,
original pages. It was they were done in Rome.
Comics,
They were done in Rome by Alberto Giolitti and his team of people, and Star Trek wasn't in that country. They got a package of photos and some descriptive text and stuff like that. That's why the Enterprise had a rocket exhaust.
and amazing artists.
But the artwork, but over the years, because we've had so much other iterations of Star Trek, you go back and look at them now, and they're way cooler than they were. I love them.
Yeah.
But and his one thing he was great with. Oh God, I'm going to run down some rabbit hole that nobody's going to give a damn about. I love the way that Alberto was very, very good with like the wrinkles in clothes. I mean, it's like this, and it's like, holy crap! I'm sitting here going like this all day. You know, get it under the armpit, and then that's tucking into the belt. And I'm like, not with those guys, man. They were fast. Beautiful.
Well, they had to, because they were amount to slave labor.
Yeah.
They weren't getting paid nearly as well as the Americans.
Yeah. But those comics were beautiful.
But for you, let's say a page, about how long does a page take?
Well, my stock answer when people do ask that, I say, if this is your proposed profession and you want to do this, if you can do a page a day, you can make a living at this. So that's about 5 to 6 pages a week. You figure a book a month, which is
That's
about
8
20
hours.
pages. 8 hours.
That draws, so it wouldn't happen.
Depending on, but see, I'm not going somewhere else to work. That is my job for 8
Still,
hours.
8 hours of drawing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
What was it? I mean, I heard that the King, Jack.
Oh,
Kirby,
that's
the King.
Well, that's an anomaly here.
Well, it's sort of like, what was that word they used in Glenn Ross with Al Pacino? He was the machine. That's what they called Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby was the machine, and they said he could do, but he worked 16 hours a day. But they said he could do up to 6 to 7 pages a day on a good day.
Well, there's something called the Kirby line, and that was, I think he did 10 or 12 pages in one day.
His drawing table showed that he did that too.
Have you ever seen it? It looks like about 4 yards away an atomic bomb melt. It's just charcoal black.
Except for this little center.
Yeah,
so
really.
it's clear.
How about damage your hand with a cigar?
Yeah, that was my first 2 introductions to the wish to draw was first Dr. Seuss, as a little kid, and then Jack Kirby when I reached about 8 or 9. And there was something about the way that he drew that left breadcrumbs as to figuring out how you could do stuff, how the fingers could come out at you, or the arms, and it wasn't that you saw it and could do it, but it was the beginnings of doing it. You started to learn how to do, a stick, and a circle, and a stick, and a triangle, and everything, and then you put the meat on it, on top of this little skeleton that you drew real fast, and it's just,
Dynamics. We
Yeah,
didn't know that
dynamics,
word.
yeah.
Right when we were first looking at it, but it was all about dynamics.
and then the how to draw comics the Marvel way. I still
John
point that
Buscema,
to,
yeah,
when
yeah.
people wanted to go, hey, I'd really like to learn how to draw, and I said, look, it's gonna sound kind of corny, but go get that book.
Get that book.
Go get that book. It's a good little book, and
Even
it's
to this
still
day,
being published.
still.
I've had to replace that book in the classroom
Yeah.
7 times.
To
It
this
always
day.
gets stolen.
But also too, go up on YouTube, and the disc that I bought years ago, which was just a video copy of that book, it's up on YouTube. Unless somebody's pulled it down, but you can watch it there. But it's a good little way to get started.
Speaking of YouTube, it's an amazing
Thank you, YouTube. Thank you.
place. I mean, you could literally sit there and just learn anything you want to on YouTube. As far
Only in
as,
the last couple of months, I've watched like 47 videos on just putting a shellac on a painting.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta make sure I got this right. Listen to all of them, they go, okay, they all pretty much said this is the same thing, so you feel safe in doing it. But yeah, it's great. I mean, I was looking at a scratch board the other day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of them on how to do that. And I would have been stumbling around for years without that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're getting ready to wrap up, but I want to hear from each one of you a awesome dream project that you got paid to do. That was just a dream come true. Sort of a highlight of your artistic career.
Something that's happened or going to happen.
Well,
Your imagination.
I mean, it could be, either way. I mean, is there something that still, is driving you, like a dream project that you want to do?
Well, I just started doing movie posters, and I would like to continue that full time. I mean, it seems like my mind is just totally scattered with images of movie posters. Like the alternative movie posters, and hopefully one day the big studios will stop using the photo collages, and we can get back to the good old days when
Art prevailed.
art prevailed.
Well, it's nice that you have these little, I call them boutique companies like Mondo was doing, and Vice Price is another one, I think, right? That does one, and they come out with artistic versions.
Mondo was split off 1,000 times now. I mean, there's tons of little companies. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
So it allows you to do that. And I think you've done some through there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I saw last year you had the awesome Frankenstein poster.
Yes.
You had your movie poster, which was just gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm trying to recapture the old, 30, 40 style. It's when it was an art form, and oddly enough, it's still an art form in France and Spain, and a lot of the French posters are just beautiful. I mean, they're just beyond anything that comes out of America. But
Well, I gotta write that down. It's a good idea for a panel for next year. Like, why are foreign posters sometimes so bonkers?
Especially those ones from Yugoslavia or Czechoslovakia.
Look at some of those.
The old Polish ones.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, like the Godzilla one or the Quatermass. I'm like, it's like an eyeball with a bunch of black lines coming out.
That sounds like a great topic. That
Yeah,
sounds like a great
yeah.
topic. All right, dream project for you that you either done or you want to do?
I mean, I hate to say it. The older I get, the more I feel like I'm chasing my childhood. And I love all the things I grew up with and wish I could do either a comic adaptation or a continuation. But I've been very, very fortunate. While Buffy was a great time because I had it so good, I was very much a Firefly fan.
Oh,
Joss at some point said, hey, do you want to come and do some of this stuff? And I was very lucky to do 12 issues of a canonical Firefly stories. And that was really my passion to do Star Wars, funny enough, because I did that maybe 10, 15 years ago. And it was just, because essentially Firefly is Han Solo in space with Malcolm Reynolds. And I was just putting everything I had, like Blade Runner influence, Star Wars influence, everything I thought, thinking, if this is it, I'm going to make this the best thing for me, not necessarily for the reading audience, but if you like it, that's great. But I was saying, this is my dream, to do this sort of thing. So in a way, I did get to do it. And now, ironically enough, I'm doing the Star Wars stuff, which I'm going, oh my God, how much longer am I going to do this?
Until you're 90.
Mark, what about you?
I want to, let me see, I want to be able to go into the room and with, get a cup of coffee, still be in my Batman slippers, and walk up to the computer, hit the AI button and go, do my work for me. I don't know, I mean, I think what I've got now is things are going real good, and I'm very busy with the commissions, but I think I'm 62 now. I'm thinking when I hit 65, I might back off some. I have no intention of not doing artwork, but back off at about 65, 66 and take maybe half of those and then start doing things that I want to do. Like I wanted to do illustrations from, and you're gonna love this, from H.G. Wells' Worlds as it is.
We have talked about
the
that.
book.
Yeah.
I wanted to do, I've got so many things that I've written down, sketches and stuff that I've done for pieces that, sort of like Barbara Streisand sings Barbara, the best of Barbara. I want to do Mark sings Mark stuff, and then be very picky and choosy about what film or television stuff I do. Like right now, I'm hoping to try to get a gig on the Herculoids comic, because I love the old cartoon, the Herculoids. I sent out a letter, I don't know if I'm gonna hear crap. Somebody else has got a Johnny Quest comic out. I love to do Johnny Quest, it's one of my favorite shows. But I also, that kind of thing I would pick if somebody came to me and said, yeah, we want you to do this. But somebody coming along with some slasher film that I mean, I don't like most of them, but there's some of them that got merit, and I would do those, but some of them like, no, you just go ahead and, you go ahead and find somebody else. But then to just do all this other artwork that I want to do,
Hey, what about you?
I'm retired.
You're not.
So you can do what you want.
Personally, I have, in the personal stuff that I do, I have, one half of me does like realistic portraiture, and I really like doing. The other half is goofy, slobbering, moronic monsters. And it's that side that I really, personally, I just want it to be a brand. That's what I would like to take it to, a brand, because I see a marketing potential in toys and stuff like that.
Cool.
And I would like to, and because I get to incorporate design, drawing, sculpture, because I'll sculpt the maquettes of some of the stuff.
He's more, unlike us, we're kind of more focused on one type of art. You are,
I'm like,
sculpt and
this is,
dimensional.
oh, look, a bird. Yeah, I'm that kind of, I could never do their 8 hours a day. Oh, they screwed me up.
Oh, never mind. Never mind about that project.
That would have been that other project. But I wanted to just point out, you said 3 words, and I wish my students could have heard you say it, because they kid me endlessly, is respect the process. To the fact that they made a shirt one time for me.
Every time we do a panel, there's always some 3-word thing. Yesterday it was in the Roger Corman thing, he goes, 3 words, and it wasn't that, it was like, big bad mama. And I'm like,
You have to be
always
succinct.
the only way you're gonna get through to him is if you use 3 words.
No, but
Bobo liked food.
But that is so important, and it's important to the artist, it's important to someone buying art, it's important to someone teaching art. So, because we can just say this, and you all didn't mention like any teachers, other than you saying you wish you would have had a teacher that would have shown you how to do this and stuff. How many of you had a crappy art teacher in high school?
And mine was horrible.
All right, and that's, look, it's 6 or 7 people raised their hands. Who knows what would have happened had the coin been on the other side with those 6 and 7 people. And that's, that is all about that. Everybody along the line in any art field is respect the process.
The only way we were lucky is that the other students that were sitting at these huge tables egged each other on.
Yeah,
That was lucky.
Well, we were the
And-
outcasts.
Yeah, well,
There was
right.
nobody else.
And you said like,
You gotta go out the door and get beat up, by the
you
school
know,
thug.
being able to go to a convention and sell artwork to a fanzine.
Yeah. well,
And,
The other
you know,
one
being a
too was
12-year-old,
that
I can make
FSU
money.
would send over
That's such a big
TAs,
thing.
the teacher's assistants, and those people had more inspiration and stuff, and new stuff bringing in.
Yes.
And thank goodness for them, because you'd get one piece of information that would change you.
That's all we
You
do.
know, just one thing, and then it's like, okay, good, I don't care what the drunk, coming in lady with the coffee pot, trying to get over a hangover was doing. I got this bit of information, so I'm gonna go down this way. So thank goodness for them. So still, it was a teacher that helped me while another teacher wasn't. So, yeah.
All right, well, good words to end on, and we will actually, thank you guys for showing up, and thank you guys for being on the panel. Real quick, promote yourself either you have a table out there, right?
Yeah, table out there, Frederick Cooper, arts.com is where I can be located, but I'm against the wall. What would you call that?
The main
The
hall.
fireman
Yeah,
squad.
the main hall. Yeah, the fireman squad.
I do not have a table, but I'm roaming. I'm just a fan also at the end of the day, so I'm just sort of walking around. Come up to me. I do have some freebies that I won't say what they are, but if you
Oh, boy.
hit me up, I'll give you some stickers and stuff like that.
Some lollipops.
Oh, and I've got the Ahsoka series through Marvel Disney coming out until the end of the year.
Very cool. www.maddoxplanet.com. Lots of stuff going on, book covers, magazine covers, DVD covers, Blu-ray covers, and commission stuff. And I will say this, when some people go, oh, you're doing all this other kind of stuff, you won't do a picture of my wife or my kids or the dog? Yeah, I will. The dog, the car, your car you had when you were in high school. I don't care, because it kind of gets me away for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you come back and you're more excited. But yeah, I mean, I draw on
You work
anything.
from life or from photographs?
It depends. I mean, I'm usually not in Florida in 100-degree heat. I don't go outside and do sketches of trees, but I can. That's why I'm moving
Yeah,
to
tell ice
Mexico
cream disgusting
someday.
right now.
Oh well, I mean, but no, I can work from life. But when it comes to people and stuff, they're not going to sit still
Yeah.
for how many weeks?
Oh,
That big portrait in there that I did of Martine Beswick was supposed to take 2 days, and it took 7. And, because I wanted it exactly how I wanted it. So,
And I can testify, Mark did a beautiful picture of my parents for their anniversary.
oh,
Oh, that's nice.
So,
That's very nice.
it's very
Yeah,
special,
Nice present.
very special.
that's one thing that will really do a number on you, and I'm not trying to, but when you do a portrait of somebody, like one of my early girlfriends, it was like I did a portrait of her father who had died in the 1940s, and I did it, and they lose it, and I did one for my mom of her mother. It's personal.
Yeah.
It's like somehow when you're doing this work, you're cementing them back into the present day by a piece of them, and it matters.
Yeah, and it's something that I mean, AI might do what it's gonna do, but that kind of thing just will never be able to be replicated by AI, so. And then, sorry, last but not least.
I'm retired.
This goes around and does panels for
Don't find me.
But you can come, I'm here in the Maker's Room, which is kind of our educational program here. It's just showing people how to do different things, vacuum forming, and more stuff that's not traditional drawing and painting, just a whole bunch of other stuff. So please come in there, sit down. We've got plenty of seats. You can sit down, just hang out, listen, and talk to people.
Awesome, well, thank you so much. Thank you guys.